state's understanding that that Mr. Gutierrez is under probation for family violence related crime.
All right, let's get his lawyer back in here. Thank you. All right, Mr. Lopez, were you aware of whether or not your client has been convicted of family violence well, I'm not sure if it's against this person or another person. Are you aware of that, sir? Or were you aware of that?
So I was made aware of that today. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, hey, Your Honor. I was made aware of that today. I can put on testimony as to the circumstances of that family violence. I think they have been. It's been a while. It did not involve the child. The child was not born yet. And I can talk about the mitigating circumstances that have happened since that family violence that I think this court would factor in when making any sort of custody determination.
I didn't think custody was an issue on this one. I was talking about that we're dealing with visitation and possible whether or not he can be a joint managed conservator versus possessor conservator. So is that going to be an issue?
So the mom, from my understanding, was fine with the standard possession order, but brought up the family violence for the non-disclosure. So that's why I guess I'm just a bit confused as to what's going on there.
All right. Well, let's get some testimony and hopefully, like I said, that's it, and the court won't have to deal with it to a great extent. And but I will need to know and I'm sorry, was the mother person involved as far as the family violence is concerned?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and Mr. Welch, do you happen to know when the date of the conviction was, please?
I don't know the date of the conviction, Your Honor. I do know when the incident occurred, that the conviction was presumably about. That would be basically November 2021. November,
Yeah.
I think
the child in this case?
the child was born on July 8th, 2022.
Let's get some testimony going here, and and my understanding, since the conviction is a final order, we don't have to worry about any type of self-incrimination. But let's go and get some testimony, and the court. I'll see what we can do here today, and based on the circumstances and the time frames involved, and whether or not there are disagreements. All right.
State understands that the parties agreed to joint managed conservatorship with Ms. Burkes' primary, no geographic restriction, as Ms. Burkes plans to go into the military, essentially. The state understands that the parties are not in agreement with how the standard possession order will work. Ms. Burkes would not want the expanded, but Mr. Gutierrez does want it to be the expanded version. Parties do agree on electronic visits to supplement the visitation. Parties agreed to Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays at 6 p.m. for 30 minutes. But that's all. The state understands the parties agreed to do exchanges at Miss Burkes' mother's residence. And state understands that both parties know where that residence is. State understands that Ms. Burkes is not asking for any supervised visitation. State understands that Ms. Burkes is asking the state understands that the parties agreed to non-disclosure to app close. The parties agreed to child support set at $586 monthly starting September 1st, 2024. The parties agreed to medical and dental, health and dental insurance through Mr. Gutierrez's employer. So no cash medical support. So he understands that the parties agreed to no retroactive child support. They understands that there's a bit of a conflict for the name change. Miss Burkes would like it to be Gutierrez Burke. Mr. Gutierrez would like it to be Burke Gutierrez.
All right, well, let me stop you right there. Mr. Lopez, Mama picks. That's the court's policy, and it's been that policy for 15 years now. She did the hard work when it came to doing the labor. She gets to pick the order of the name. So whichever order she wants, whatever order of the name she wants to go with, that's what the court's going to grant. So I'll let you go ahead and proceed, Mr. Welch. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. State understands that there's also a issue with the family plan. So as Ms. Burkes, State understands Ms. Burkes will be planning to go into the military. Mr. Lopez wanted some kind of temporary language or language in the order that would make him like primary conservator there when she's deployed.
All right, here's the deal. All right, I'll slow y'all down on this. The court always, and ma'am, this is the law. He's the dad, so but I always give him the first right of refusal as far as having possession of the child if you are deployed to a location that does not allow you to take the child with you, ma'am. That's, again, you can't leave the child with your mom or someone else. He has to, unless he doesn't want to have the child come live with him. You understand that one, ma'am? You're muted, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, then. So again, that's and Mr. Lopez, that's the way I normally do it. I don't like putting temporary orders in there because that usually it's out of date by the time something like that happens. So, but I will always give dad the first right of refusal as far as deployment options of the mom. If she can take the child, and believe me, it used to be you couldn't take a child to Korea with you, and now I got kids all over Korea. So yeah, it is what it is. But again, sir, I'll allow him to have that if the deployment is somewhere where mom cannot take the child with her. You may proceed, Mr. Welch.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think that's about it for me, Your Honor.
All right, first right of refusal is okay with court. All right, then, Mr. Lopez, based on the fact that I'm gonna go ahead and let mom pick the order of names, and my understanding she wants Gutierrez-Burkes or Gutierrez-Burkes. That's what I'm probably looking at. And I'm gonna go ahead and give your client the first right of refusal on deployment if mom can't take the child with her on the deployment station. So what else is I will listen to some testimony of the expanded visitation package. I usually don't make that for a child this young. I usually start it once the child starts going to school as far as the expanded is concerned, but and I will do that in this case. So I would need to know, is there any reason why I should start now at this young age? Because again, with this young age, it's the pickup and drop off to school is not appropriate. So anyway, so I'll let you go ahead and tell the court what else you're asking for along those lines and anything else that I missed. All right, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Just to echo everything Mr. Welch said, everything he said that they're in agreement with, that's also my understanding. I understand that this court's policy is for mom to pick the last name. The only reason we had asked for the other one is she originally wanted Burkes Gutierrez, so we were kind of on that mindset, and then she switched it up. But Gutierrez Burkes is fine. That is what the court orders. I believe that if there's going to be language for right of first refusal concerning her deployment, I think that more than covers what I wanted, which was the temporary orders during her deployment. I think it has a similar effect. So really the only thing we would be asking for now, and the child support and insurance and app close, all of that is in agreement, is the expanded standard possession order. I understand it's a young child, but I think what evidence is going to show is that Mr. Gutierrez has been very involved and wants to be more involved as much as he can. And especially if mom is getting in the military, there are going to be periods of time when she is going to be deploying just to start off basic training.
Temporary duty. That's why I didn't bring that up because I don't include temporary duty, but I understand. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Thank you.
Right. And so basic training, if she gets deployed, all of those sorts of situations are going to be more on the horizon with her joining the army. And I think giving dad more time now to get into that habit of he's going to be taking care of the child while she's deployed or she can't take her child, I think would only benefit him, mom, and the child, most importantly. But evidence will show that he is active, and that is our request today, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Welch, you brought this litigation, so you're up first. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. State calls Taylin Burkes. What is your full name?
Taylor Anastasia Burkes.
Could you hear my opening statement?
Somewhat. I
That's
heard
fine.
what's your full name?
That's fine, ma'am. What is the name of the child you have with Mr. Gutierrez?
Josiah Crashane Burkes.
How old is Josiah?
He just turned 2.
How many times have you been physically assaulted by Mr. Gutierrez?
I lost count, sir.
When is the last
But
time?
the last time was December of 2021 while I was pregnant.
And when did these start?
Towards the end of October 2021, when me and Mr. Gutierrez first started our romantic relationship.
Was the police involved in any of this?
Yes, towards November when they got involved, I believe.
So what of the physical assaults did the police get involved? Please explain to the court.
There was an instance where me and Mr. Gutierrez went to go take pictures. And I had a really big scratch on my neck from him choking me. And a busted lip at the time. And then my mom was asking to see me because I haven't talked to her. And so when I went to talk to her, that is when she saw the scratch on my neck and the busted lip. And then I told her what happened. And she took me to the police department. And I didn't want to press charges or anything. But since it was something violent, like domestic violence, they told me that the state picked it up. And that kind of brings us current.
Are you aware if he is currently on probation for that incident?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Was there a protective order put in place for you against him?
Yes, sir.
Is the probation still ongoing?
I'm not 100% sure. I believe so.
What about the protective order?
The protective order, no, sir.
Despite that incident, do you agree to joint man in conservatorship?
Yes and no. I don't agree to the expansion thing.
Okay, ma'am, that's 2 different questions. The first question was a joint management conservatorship question. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
We'll get into the expanded visitation. Thank you.
Then I do agree.
Do you agree with you having the right to establish where the child lives?
Yes.
Why do you want the extended standard possession order?
Because Mr. Gutierrez does not see his child more than a week. I don't believe that's something that I'm comfortable with as Josiah's mother.
Sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I didn't hear you very well. What was your I don't understand. You don't want the expanded visitation. Why is that again, ma'am? Sorry.
Josiah's 2. Josiah is used to me. It's not something I'm comfortable with as far as how often that Mr. Gutierrez has recently got him. It's just about what I've seen and what he shows me throughout his time getting Josiah. I just don't feel like it's something that I'm going to be comfortable with.
Okay, here's the deal, ma'am. You can only testify to things you've actually seen, so I'll let the state expand on that as necessary. Thank you.
Apologies, Your Honor. I couldn't hear what she said about what you said about expanding.
I said me or her?
Her, Your Honor.
Okay, sorry. All right, well, we're just gonna go. Okay, I'll let you repeat yourself, ma'am. Thank you.
I was saying that the times that I've seen Raymond's dad or Josiah's dad get Josiah for the time that he has for the last couple of months, it's not something I'm comfortable with as far as him only having him the 2 days a week that he does. My son is only 2. But that's all I said.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Ms. Burkes. So, has Mr. Gutierrez ever physically assaulted the child?
No.
So your main concern is that because the child is so young and he has had so little contact with the child,
Yes.
would you be interested in some kind of step-up visitation?
To be honest, I kind of just wanted to see where it went with the standard.
All right. Well, real quick, what kind of visitation his father had since the first of the year? What's the norm here?
So at first, when he was an infant, me and him were still involved romantically. So it was about, he was seeing him every week. He had full weekends with him and everything. And then towards him turning 2, he had Mondays, Wednesdays from 5 to 8, and then Saturdays he would keep him all night, drop him off around noon to 1 on Sunday. Then he then told me that with his business that he was starting and things that he was not going to continue getting him on Mondays, so that stopped. And then he told me whenever we had originally established that he was going to get him Wednesdays and Saturdays, I asked him if he was going to keep him every other weekend, if he was only going to get him Wednesdays, and he told me not until court told him he had to. So that's kind of the normal, just Wednesdays and Saturdays, Saturdays overnight, and Wednesdays 5 to 8.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. May proceed,
Yes,
Mr. Welch.
Thank you, Your Honor. What county do you live in, Ms. Burkes?
I'm in Bell County.
Would you be okay with exchanges happening at your mother's house?
Yes.
What medical coverage do you have for the child?
I have Medicaid.
Do you agree to Mr. Gutierrez instead providing the child health and dental insurance through his employer?
I do, but I do have a concern. My child is on early childhood intervention therapy for his developmental issues. And my only concern is that the reason they picked it up and that he receives therapy is because he's on Medicaid. So my only concern with that, him being on Mr. Gutierrez's insurance, is that he won't be able to receive his therapy anymore.
Okay, here's the deal, ma'am. On that, the norm is you can go ahead and stay on Medicaid so long as they allow you to be on Medicaid, ma'am. That's something totally separate. That's left up to them. But the court can order him to maintain health insurance also, or because that's technically part of child support. So again, him having health insurance will not get you kicked off Medicaid.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Who is Mr. Gutierrez employed with?
I believe Z Modular.
Do you agree to Mr. Gutierrez paying current child support of $586 starting September 1st, 2024?
Yes.
Are you asking for retroactive child support today?
No.
Do you understand that you can ask for retroactive child support?
Yes.
Has anyone forced you or threatened you to not force you to not get it? Or ask for retroactive child support?
I wouldn't say forced. No.
What about threatened?
Yes and no, if that makes sense.
Explain. What do you mean by that?
So on our first court date that we had back in June, I was in the car waiting to be talked to. And when I originally had asked, the following afternoon when everything happened and we were told our court date was moved, Mr. Gutierrez did tell me that he was going to just try to take me for full custody, because he told me that he originally got the lawyer, so he wasn't paying $1,800 in child support.
But so Mr. Gutierrez has never like physically threatened you with threatened you with physical harm if you ask for retroactive child support.
No.
All right, here's the deal, ma'am. Did he tell you that he was going to? Okay, did he specifically say that he was going to ask for custody if you ask for retro? Did
Yes.
he tell you that? I mean, and that has to be him telling you that directly.
Yes.
That's what he said. Okay,
Yes,
thank
Your
you.
Honor.
May proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Do you agree to electronic communication on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 6 p.m. for 30 minutes?
Yes.
Would you be comfortable with non-disclosure of most of your personal information?
Yes.
Do you agree to app close?
Yes.
What do you want the court to change the child's surname to?
I would like Josiah's name to be Gutierrez Burkes.
Past witness, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Welch. You're a witness, Mr. Lopez.
Ms. Burkes, when do you start with the Army? When's your onboarding date?
So I currently don't have one. I just mentioned to Mr. Gutierrez that I was planning on enlisting, but the goal date would be sometime in January.
Have you
Latest
talked
February.
to recruiters?
I have.
And so there's no, besides you kind of thinking about going to the Army, there's no solid plan in place yet. You're just kind of aiming for a January window to enlist.
Yes.
I think Mr. Welch already covered everything that you guys do agree upon. And I know it's been brought up about visitation and the family violence that happened back in 2021. Have you been around Mr. Gutierrez alone, along with your child?
Yes.
Was that as recent as last night?
Yes.
And there hasn't been any further incidents to your for him physically threatening you or attacking you?
No, sir.
And like you said, he's never hurt your child.
No, sir.
And just to confirm, it does sound like since at least the beginning of the year, Mr. Gutierrez has been exercising possession a couple days during the week. Now it's down to one, and then overnights on Saturday. Is that right?
Yes.
So you've trusted him to be with your child alone overnight, most weekends.
Yes.
And I know you mentioned your mom earlier. Does your mother and Mr. Gutierrez have a pretty good relationship now?
I would like to say so, yes.
Is everyone pretty involved? By which I mean you, Mr. Gutierrez, your mother, Mr. Gutierrez's family in raising this child?
Yes.
If you do enlist in the Army, you understand that there's going to be certain periods where you're deployed or sent away for, 30 days to, over a year sometimes.
Yes, I'm aware.
I know one of your concerns earlier was that Mr. Gutierrez hasn't had enough time with his child, which is why you were opposing the expanded possession. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Do you believe that maybe giving Mr. Gutierrez more time now to get him ready for those longer periods of time would be in your child's best interest?
No, not currently.
So if you enlist in January and you're sent for basic training for 30 days or more, do you want that to be the first time Mr. Gutierrez has your child for 30 consecutive days?
I would honestly rather not enlist if that would be the case. Yes, that's correct.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, anything on the record, Mr. Welch?
Your Honor, I just one thing, Your Honor. Miss Burkes, did he ever physically assault you while you were pregnant with the child?
Yes.
Do you know if the child suffered any harm from that?
No, I don't believe he did.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right. Any other questions, Mr. Lopez?
Yes, Ms. Burkes, has Mr. Gutierrez, has he bought food for Josiah since he was born?
Yes.
Has he helped out with like diapers or food or other needs that the child might have had?
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, ma'am, along that line, I got a question. Has he ever given you cash funds for to help with the support of this child?
Yes.
And how much has he given you off the top of your head, if you have a guesstimate or an estimate or know an exact amount? Ma'am, how much in cash has he given you over the time since the child's been born?
Normally he buys what he needs. I just tell him what he needs. But off the top of my head,
Okay,
he's
ma'am,
I'm sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
But off of the top of my head, for him giving me, I want to say maybe a little over 100, maybe 2.
Okay. Well, again, about items, I
Yeah, like from the time
can buy a box of Pampers at Costco and it'll cost me $200, or at the 7-Eleven it'll cost me $15. So I don't usually give credit for items. I will give credit for cash, and I do need to check into a couple of things to make up my mind what I'm going to do about the retro. But I want to hear testimony from Dad on that also. So at this time, Mr. Welch, call your next witness, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. State calls Ramon Gutierrez. What is your full name?
Yes, sir.
What is your full name?
Raymond Dante Gutierrez. Raymond Dante Gutierrez.
Got it, sir.
Raymond Dante Gutierrez.
We got it, sir. Thank you.
Got it, sir. Could you hear my opening statement?
Yes, sir.
Was it accurate?
As far as what you were saying, or Mrs. Burkes?
As far as I'm saying, just what I said at the beginning. It's fine, Your Honor. We'll just
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gutierrez, go ahead and turn off your video. We got a little bit of a lag there. That might be bandwidth problems due to the video. So go ahead and turn off your video, and we'll just use the voice. Thank you. Go ahead.
Can you hear me better?
Yeah, that sounds better. Thank you.
Okay. But yes, no, sir. I didn't disagree on anything that you said on your part.
And Your Honor, since Mr. Lopez is his lawyer, I was thinking about mainly focusing on the family violence and the non-disclosure of money issues. And then Mr. Lopez could talk about custody and things like that.
All right, I'll tell you what, Mr. Welch, I'm going to limit you to asking him questions about what he's actually been convicted of at this time. I don't want to go expand beyond that, and the terms and conditions of any probation he's on. So I'll let you. I'm going to limit you to those items as far as the family violence is concerned, and then anything else in addition you want to, sir, that you think is pertinent, you can do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Were you ever convicted of a crime involving family violence?
Yes, sir. In 2021.
Are you on probation because of it?
Yes, sir. I can get off in 2 months. Yes, sir.
Are you under any geographic restrictions because of that probation?
No, sir.
Are you on any restrictions regarding contact with Ms. Burkes?
No, sir.
All right,
How
Mr.
are you?
Gutierrez, what was the actual conviction, sir? What did they convict you for, sir?
They convicted me for basically family violence, something like that. They had given me a felony for it, and yes, so that's technically what they had got me for, was just family violence.
All right, sir. Was that inclusive of cutting off breathing or air passages? Was that the conviction?
No, sir. It wasn't. The conviction was basically me and her got to a disagreement. Her
No.
mom
I don't need to know the circumstances, sir. I just want to know what
okay.
the actual
No,
was of the court.
Yeah, no, sir. That wasn't what it was on.
All right, but if you said it was a felony, why do you know why it was a felony and not a misdemeanor?
Because it did have to do with violence. I guess they said it had to do with violence and I guess putting hands on.
Okay, well, I may have to get a copy of that, sir, just to confirm what I'm looking at, because again, it may have an impact on what I can do as far as this matter is concerned, but I'll get that. I'll let you and your, well, I'll either get an ad litem or you and your lawyer do that, but let me hear the rest of your testimony and I'll figure that out. You may proceed
sir.
this time, Mr. Welch. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Were you ever required under the probation to attend a family domestic violence course or something like that?
Yes, sir. It's called a SAPS class.
Did you complete said course?
Yes, sir.
Moving on to the financials, how are you employed?
Through Z Modeler. I've been there for about 2 years now.
What is your current position?
I'm a general labor in the leads of trying to, go higher into the business. But right now I'm just a general laborer.
Do you agree that your average gross monthly wage based on the amount you're making in February 2024 and 2023 as a whole is $3,750.38?
Yes, sir. A month? Yes, sir.
What medical coverage could you have available for the child?
Dental health. Really, my company has good benefits and stuff for my son, so I can be able to get him under whatever he needs to get under.
So your company can provide both medical and both health and dental insurance for the child?
Yes, sir.
How much would the medical and dental cost you per month for just the child?
$250.
Do you agree to cover the child under your employer's health and dental insurance?
Yes, sir.
Do you agree to pay current child support of $586 starting September 1st, 2024? This would be monthly, based on that average gross monthly wage figure I spoke of earlier.
Yes, sir.
Do you agree to non-disclosure of most of Ms. Burke's personal information on the order?
I don't really know what that pertains to, but can you go into deeper reasoning? Like, what do you mean?
Well, sir,
Well, sir, I'll say, go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
thank you, Your Honor. Well, sir, these orders are public, which means that anyone can go to go and retrieve them. And these orders would have things like your address or a cell phone number. And Ms. Burkes is requesting that most of that information be redacted from it there.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's fine.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Lopez, your witness.
Yeah, Mr. Gutierrez, let me ask you, your child was born July 8th, 2022, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And while Miss Burkes was pregnant, did she, sorry, scratch that. Were you made aware of when she was giving birth?
No, sir. I mean, I got told when she was getting ready to push. She was in Austin. I was in Central Texas. I was about an hour and a half away. But as soon as I did get the call, I rushed down to the hospital as fast as I could.
And was it your desire to be put on the birth certificate?
Yes, sir. But when I showed up, it was already signed and out the door.
And were you told that you couldn't add your name to it afterwards?
Yes, sir.
You don't dispute that this is your child?
No, sir.
You have been involved with your child since he was born?
Yes, sir.
And earlier, were you able to hear our questions of Ms. Burkes concerning how often you see your child?
Yes, sir.
Is that accurate? What she had stated is that you were seeing your child about 2 times during the week and you were getting Saturday overnights?
Yes, sir. Towards the end, the exact reasoning for that wasn't because me starting a business. It was because she had quit her job and was going into school. So because she was going to have to be gone, me and her had talked about her mom, because her mom's the one that always has to watch Josiah. So we're kind of, trying to dim that down a little bit so we can get a little bit more parenting time in. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, instead of me seeing him on Monday, I'll let you go and have that little bit of time extra with him. So, it takes less time off your mom, basically.
So the reason you made that change to lose the Monday was to kind of make sure she was seeing her child enough because she started going to school and being she was just a little bit more busy.
Yeah, she was unemployed at that time. Yes, sir.
And I've talked to you about the difference between an expanded standard possession order and a regular standard possession order.
Yes, sir.
And it's your desire to get an expanded standard possession order, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Is that because you want to have your child as much as possible?
Yes, sir. To be honest, yes, sir.
Do you believe that Ms. Burkes may just not want you to have that extra time?
I feel like certain things that are even being said by me are more out of, personal reasons. But yeah, I feel like it's more personal reasons as to why she feels the way she feels. That's up to certain things like the way I've been there for my son, or having, or feeling the fear of this and this and that. I feel like it's a lot just more personal than coming down to the truth and what my son needs for his best, to basically live his best life as he can.
And Ms. Burkes, to be fair, she has let you see your child, and you've had your child overnight. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Where you're alone with your child and you take care of him,
Yes, sir.
and you would like to continue doing that, except you would like as many overnights as possible.
Yes, sir.
Now, one of the concerns raised was that family violence conviction from back in 2021. Did that occur while she was pregnant?
No, sir, I did not.
Do you remember the date of when it happened?
I think you
Not
need to
by
clarify
heart.
that one, Council, I think. Slow, sir. Was the question, was she pregnant at the time of the act of family violence, or was she convicted? Because I think he may be thinking it was of the conviction was done when she was pregnant.
No,
So
she wasn't pregnant. She wasn't pregnant. As far as whenever we found out she was pregnant, she wasn't even here. She was in Missouri whenever. So then that whole time she wasn't pregnant.
So just to be clear, my question was when the incident occurred, right? Not the conviction.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
To your knowledge, was she pregnant?
No, sir. She was not pregnant.
And ever since the incident, have you assaulted her or committed family violence in any way?
No, sir. Ever since I first got put on probation, I haven't had such as a speeding ticket. No, sir.
And you, like you said, you're on probation. You get off in November of 24. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And part of that included you doing, I believe you mentioned SAPs with Mr. Welch. Can you explain what those classes were?
Oh, yes, sir. They were basically for, I guess you could say, anger men, basically learning how to self-develop and use, the anger in not physical way. Basically, just more of a self-development class that I had to take for about 3 to 4 weeks, and I took it and passed it. And yes, sir.
And did you attend every class?
Yes, sir.
You understand that any incident that occurred was not right, and is it your desire to not commit family violence in the future?
Yes, sir. I understand all my wrongdoings in the past and things that I should have thought twice before I did anything. Yes, so I've become well aware of my situations in my past and the person that I need to be for my son as well.
And you and mom have hung out together alone ever since the incident?
Yeah, yes, sir. We don't have your normal day. Like, yeah, we don't be down each other's necks like that. We get along for my son.
Did you mention to me earlier that yesterday you guys were hanging out last night?
Yes, sir. I went to go drop off my son to her, dropped him off some food and stuff, and we just talking, have a conversation, and then left.
Gotcha. And this was at her home?
Yes, sir.
And does that happen regularly when you drop off your child? You guys hang out for a bit?
Honestly, it's more like 80% of the time I drop him off at her crib, but the other 20% I drop him off with his grandma. But most of the time, yes, sir, it's at her crib, and I'll sit right there and walk inside and lay him down when he's sleeping and stuff.
And do you have a good? She stated that she likes to think that you have a good relationship with her mom. Is that true?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Her mom's a wonderful person. Yes, sir.
Um, do you believe that the acts of family violence are in the past, and you're just working on trying to be a good co-parent with both Miss Burkes and her family and everyone involved?
Yes, sir. That's honestly, yes, sir.
Earlier, the judge asked Ms. Burkes a little bit about what all have you helped out with since the child was born. I believe his question was since the beginning of the calendar year. Um, I'll focus on the first question. In terms of cash money, how often, if ever, do you give Ms. Burkes support for the child, whether that's cash money, Venmo, or anything like that?
Most of it's been through Cash App. I have multiple things in my Cash App where it shows it's well over $100. But I wouldn't say that I sat right here and like I understand where the judge was coming from as far as just giving up money. I understand that. Whenever my son was born, me, Taylin, and his grandma sat down and kind of had a talk about what I need to be helping out with, what I need to be doing. So that's kind of where that came to play as far as, okay, well, Tay was okay with just letting me know what he needed, when he needed shirts, when he needed clothes, I went and bought everything, the biggest pack, the biggest this, the biggest that. So that was something that we had came down to an agreement on, prior to everything that falling into line and not understanding kind of how the way it works. So he never went without basically. Now there was sometimes, like I said, where I would send, hey, give him some extra clothes, like, here's, and I have, proof of that. But more of the time it was hey, he needs diapers. Okay, cool, right away. What size? Okay, cool. He needs this right away. It wasn't like I really just didn't provide. Like it's just how we talked about me providing. And I'm pretty sure she's safe to say that I have, been there financially. I really have.
And
So
and just I guess to kind of sum it up, the agreement you guys had was they'll tell you I need these sorts of things and you provided them and you have, right?
yes, sir.
If the agreement had been, hey, we'll tell you what we need, can you send us money? You would have done that as well.
Yes, sir. Of course.
So the only downside, to the judge's point, is that on one of those agreements, there's a very clear trail where you're sending X amount of money, where in the other one, it could
Yes, sir.
fluctuate, but your child has never been wanting anything in their life.
Yes, sir. I understand.
Um, and that's why I believe both of you agree for no retroactive, because you have been providing for your child and their needs.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's one thing that I could say that, me and her did talk about and, she acted very mature about was because she did realize that at that point in time where she asked for it, she admitted it was more out of hurt and more out of anger for certain things. But we sat right there and really did communicate. Like I said, it's nothing towards the parent that she is. She's a wonderful mother. I just want to do what's right for, my son's eyes and move
Gotcha.
forward with however it is when you move forward.
And Mr. Gutierrez, I know you said you have evidence of the Cash App that you've sent her money. If you had to put a round number like monthly, how much times you send her, or how an amount that you send her monthly, would you be able to provide one?
I mean, I wouldn't say monthly because they would be at certain different times where I'd just be like, hey, like even yesterday, she was like, hey, he needs that. Okay, cool. I sent it right away. Like I sent the money and put for diapers, for wipes. So, it varies. I mean, there's sometimes where she'll be like, he needs clothes, or his mom will let me know because we have a close relationship too. She'll be like, oh, hey, does he need anything? Oh, hey, he needs clothes. Okay, cool. I'll go and get this clothes. Or I'm gonna send money to Tay. She can buy him diapers. She can buy him this. So it's not really a close estimate, but it was well over $100. Yes, sir.
Um, and if Ms. Burkes does join the army, or for whatever any other reason, she can't be around Josiah, you want to be the person that has that right of first refusal.
Yes, sir. Only more. It's not coming from a personal aspect. It's coming more from since I'm his father. I feel like that's more of my duty to sit right here and not kind of, whatever I got to work around, I work around. So it don't put that extra weight on his grandma because that's not her kid, So it's my responsibility. So that's where more of that was coming from. Yes, sir.
No further questions, Your Honor. I pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Welch, anything on redirect, sir?
I do, Your Honor. It won't take too long, though. Do you agree to the court ordering app close?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's perfectly fine.
What county do you live in?
I live in Coryell.
All right, and real quick, Mr. Gutierrez, who lives with you at this time at your residence?
It's just me, myself, sir.
All right, and so do you have an apartment, a house? What are we talking about?
Yes, sir. I just have an apartment as of right now.
And how large is that apartment?
It's a 2-bedroom and a bath.
Okay, thank you. You may proceed, Mr. Welch.
Thank you, Your Honor. How long have you been employed with your current company?
Going, well, no, not going. It's 2 years now.
So since about August 2022 then?
Yes, sir. I think it was December. The last time I checked, it was December 21st, something, whenever I first got hired. And so my 3 years will be this December.
Pass the witness, Your Honor. All right, Ms. Gutierrez, one final question from the court. Sir, what was the actual date of the incident that led to your conviction? When did that take place? Do you recall the date, sir?
No, sir, but I'm still on probation. I mean, I can call and get it in a matter of seconds.
Do you remember what month? I'm understanding it was in 2021. Do you remember which month it was?
Oh man, let me see. By heart, no, sir.
Okay.
But like I
All right,
said,
we'll
yeah,
figure it out, sir. Because
yes,
again,
sir.
I hate to say this, but I don't think I'm going to be able to wrap everything up today. But looks like I'll probably be able to get where I need to go real fast. All right. Anything else on Reed Cross, Mr. Lopez?
Just real quick, Your Honor, just to cover the bases. Mr. Gutierrez, earlier, when Mr. Welch and I both said everything that you guys are in agreement with, was that accurate?
Yes, sir.
That's it, Your Honor. I pass the witness.
All right, thank you. All right, any other witnesses at this time, Mr. Welch?
No, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Lopez, do you have any witnesses?
No, Your Honor.
All right, so at this time, I'll go ahead and listen to closing statements, and I'll start with you, Ms. Burkes. I didn't give you much of an opportunity to get your ducks in a row here, but this time, ma'am, is there anything else you think I need to know that you want to testify to that's relevant to what we're doing here today, and what you're requesting? And if you want to make any type of closing statement or closing argument, ma'am, you will be allowed to do so at this time. So, ma'am, is there anything else you think I need to know, and do you wish to make any type of closing statement or argument, ma'am?
I do have one other thing to say. My mom is the one that takes care of like his therapy if me and Mr. Gutierrez are at work and things. Part of that is where the whole me wanting my son to reside with my mother if I were to have to deploy or anything like that, and then Raymond continue his custody and visitation as ordered. But I understand like if that's not the case, how is that going to work with his therapy?
Okay, ma'am, here's the deal. I didn't get any testimony on what exactly that the child had something extraordinary medical circumstance. So, and you keep saying, and I understand you said, I mentioned earlier about the therapy, but I didn't think it was something that was extraordinary. So, what has he been diagnosed with, and what are we talking about as far as therapy is concerned?
So my son currently hasn't been 100% diagnosed because he's not old enough to, but his doctors are concerned that he's on the spectrum for autism. And so developmentally, he sees a therapist 2 times a month through early childhood intervention in order to give me and my mother and his father, Mr. Gutierrez, tools in order to use to help him developmentally grow, like his speech and things like that, his motor skills.
And is there a reason that Mr. Gutierrez couldn't be able to do that now?
No, it's not that. He's just never offered. I've tried to give him dates and times for his.
Again, he's the father, not of the child, and he's gonna have some rights here. And I understand I'm still dealing with a very, very young child, but I need something out of the extraordinary for me to, and I'll let Mr. Lopez know also. I don't count going to basic and temporary duty where you got to go out to urban or go to airborne school in Benning or anything along those lines, man. But I don't count those. Those are not long-time deployments. I do look at deployments after you finish basic training of anything above and beyond 30 days. It's possible where dad will get it, but if it's and I'm talking about not ordinary deployments. Again, if you decide you want to be a 82nd or 101 and you got to go to Benning, then yeah, if that's a 3-month deployment, ma'am, then I'm probably going to let dad have first right of refusal. But anything short of something along those lines, the child will remain with you and your mom, okay?
Okay.
All right, and I'll let Mr. Lopez know that too. But again, I'll wait till they get past that first basic, and then the court can look at other things. In fact, I can make this temporary order and have everybody come back here after mom gets her information in January, what she may be doing in January, one way or the other, before I make a final order in this case. But for right now, I just wanted to let y'all know that up front, or for these purposes. So at this time, ma'am, anything else on closing?
No, Your Honor.
All right, then I'll go with Mr. Welch and then Mr. Lopez. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. So like I said at the beginning, state understands that the parties are agreed to joint managed conservatorship with her as primary, no geographic restrictions. But with that, of course, that right of first refusal that you mentioned earlier, and that the parties are not in agreement with the expanded possession order versus standard. State has no interest in that disagreement. State understands that the parties agreed on the electronic visits, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 6 p.m. each of those days for 30 minutes, no more after. State understands that the parties agree to do exchanges at the Miss Burkes Mother's residence, and that both parties know where that residence is. State understands that Burkes is not asking for supervised visitation. State understands that parties agree to the child support of $586 monthly starting September 1st, 2024. State understands that that they were not asking for retroactive support at the beginning, but that now it seems like it's going to be a temporary order. So I guess we can address that again next time when we come back. Because I know there were allegations of maybe that she was threatened to not ask for it. So the state understands the parties agreed to health and dental insurance through Mr. Gutierrez's employer at a cost to him for $250. And so you receive a credit for that, and he would not pay any medical, cash medical.
Okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just agreeing. Sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. State understands that the parties agreed to non-disclosure for Ms. Burkes, most of her personal information. State understands that the parties agreed to be ordered to use app close for communications. And then state understands that we've already decided about the surname. Gutierrez Burkes was what Ms. Burkes wanted. And state has no issue with making this temporary order to, and that eventually resolving this at a future date.
All right, Mr. Lopez, your closing statement at this time, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm in agreement with all the things Mr. Welch has said and stated on the record that the parties are in agreement with. Obviously, the few issues that we have are Mr. Gutierrez wants an expanded standard possession order. I understand that is a young child, but we have a dad who's more than willing to take on that challenge of seeing their child as much as they can, which we often don't get to see sometimes in our line of work. And I think for someone who wants that challenge and wants that responsibility, wants those rights. I think his testimony showed that he has seen his child regularly throughout the week and on Saturday overnights. So it's not like he's a stranger to this child. Child very much knows that that's dad. And I think giving him more time will only benefit their family dynamic. I think Ms. Burkes' mom has been helping out these first 2 years, which I think they're both probably pretty grateful for. But I think Mr. Gutierrez would like to kind of help relieve some of that effort that she's been putting in and step up to the plate. And I think that's what he wants to do. I understand that this court's probably going to do a temporary order and not a final order here today. I know the judge mentioned earlier possibly a guardian ad litem being appointed. If your honor does think that appointing an ad litem is in the best interest of the child in this case, I would ask that if the court would consider it, if Ms. Gustafson would be appointed. I think she has pretty good handle on these sorts of cases, especially when there's, young children and some family violence or family violence.
Just so happens she's up on my list. She's the second person on the list down on the list coming up. So yeah, that would work.
Perfect, Your Honor. And I know this court usually just credits, cash money that was sent to mom. If we are going to make this a temporary order, I'd ask the court not to make any specific rulings on retroactive and reserve it for final. That way, when we come back, we can come back with, some accurate records and exhibits to show this court how much money he has put forth, to give the judge, the court an accurate idea on that. As to the family violence, I think Mr. Gutierrez has shown remorse. Obviously, it's a concern when you hear family violence, especially against mom. Seems to be a little bit of a conflict between the parties as to when it occurred. And obviously, if we appoint an ad litem and we make temporary orders, I'll make sure that we have those accurate dates for the court next time to know when it exactly happened. But since then, Your Honor, testimony from both sides showed that no further family violence has occurred, especially none towards the child. It looks like the parties get along. It looks like the moms of the parties get along. It looks like everyone in this nuclear family wants what's best for this child. And Mr. Gutierrez is remorseful, and I think he's made his best efforts to atone for the mistake that he made back in 2021. He is taking courses through his probation, went to every single class, and he is just about 2 months away from completing his probation. And I hope the court takes all of that into consideration when making a determination. I do hope that the court will grant a standard possession order, whether that's expanded or a regular one. That's obviously up to the court, but I just believe that giving dad that sort of access, I think is in the best interest of the child. And that'll be all, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you very, very, very much. Yes, I'm looking at making this attempt. I will go ahead and appoint Ms. Gustafson as the ad litem in this matter. Ms. Walker, do you have Ms. Gustafson coming back to court anytime in late October as far as the general docket case is concerned?
Your Honor, no, she's not on any October dockets besides the hybrid.
Okay.
Well, no, that's November. So no, she's not on any October dockets.
All right, I'll tell you what, let's see. She likes to avoid Wednesday. She likes Thursdays because Wednesday's CPS day. So I'm gonna go ahead and if it runs in conflict, we'll get with the lawyers and get that straightened out. But for right now, like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and appoint Ms. Gustafson. I'm gonna name the parties temporary joint managed conservators. But the one issue I'm gonna run into, Mr. Lopez, I've got to get a copy of what his actual conviction was, because by certain convictions, I cannot name someone as a JMC. Okay. So I've got to double check that just to dot my I's and cross my T's, and we'll see what that is. I understand he's remorseful. I understand they're getting along together today, but by statute, I may be limited. So I want to double check that because the judge really doesn't like to mess up on those kind of things.
Yes, Your Honor.
But for right now, temporary joint managed conservator will work. I'm giving the right to side domicile with mom. That right's unrestricted. I'm sorry. For right now, ma'am, I like to say that right. I'm making that right unrestricted, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, I'm gonna name you both joint man. I'm gonna set up the temporary child support and cash medical, and I'm sorry, and the insurance as agreed to. The mom can maintain. I'll order the mom to be able to maintain a Medicaid if she wants, but dad to maintain health and health and dental insurance at this time. I'll go ahead and order the guideline child support. I'm going to start that the first day of September going forward. And I'm going to go ahead and do the standard possession order, but not the extended one for right now. So the first 35th weekends of the month for now, and we'll deal with the extended based on the recommendations they outline them. And I'll look at whether or not the court's going to do any type of retro based on what the outline was wanting and figure out what we're going to do with conservatorship based on the getting dad's information. Again, I'll let everybody know that as far as military service is concerned, I usually look at anything more than 30 days as first right of refusal, Ms. Burkes, but I don't include basic training in that because everybody's got to go to basic training. So go ahead and get everything else set up and figure out what you're going to do. Are you looking at the Army, man? What branch of the military are you looking at, please?
The Army, Your Honor.
Okay, then. All right, then. Well, the Army I'm most familiar with. So again, we'll figure out what you're going to do, what your MLS is going to be, and what you're looking at going training. Let Dad let him know that, and we'll work around you and Dad on that going forward. But for right now, I'm just going to do the weekend visits. Right now, I don't think there's a major holiday coming up before we're coming back. Now there's not, because I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back in October. And right now, Mr. Lopez, I'm looking at let's look at a Thursday in October. Hopefully, I don't think we're too crazy in October yet with settings. So I'm looking at, let's see. No, that's too early. Let's see. I'm looking at either October 17th or October 24th general dockets. Well, first off, Ms. Walker, are either one of those prohibitive right now with cases, or both of those kind of within the swing plane on that one? And that's a golf we're talking like that. So yeah, it is what it is. So
Your Honor, so October 17th we have is availability. But if you're going to make October 24th general docket, we don't have that Zoom code yet, but there is availability for the 17th.
Let's go with the 17th for right now, because the 24th might be something else on my part. That might be my doctor's appointment. Let me double check. Anyway, Mr. Lopez, does the 17th work for you, sir?
Yes, Your Honor, the 17th works for me perfectly.
All right, good enough. We'll confirm that it works with Ms. Gustafson, and if she needs something different, I'll get you, Mr. Welch, and her all together on a conference call or a sidebar on a Zoom date that everybody can appear, and we'll figure out what date we're going to use going forward. Unfortunately, litigants, I make my schedule based on lawyers' schedule and possible doctor's appointments with parties. So if anything is coming up, try not to get a doctor's appointment on the 17th. And we'll confirm about that reset. Here's the deal, Ms. Burkes. I've gone ahead and appointed a lawyer to represent the child in this matter. She's called a guardian ad litem. And I'm making her a guardian ad litem because 1-year-olds don't usually try to tell lawyers what to do. When they're 13, 14, I don't give 13-year-olds a loaded lawyer to point at their parents. Okay. So I know there's just a lot of legal mumbo jumbo, so I don't have to make an attorney ad litem. All I got to do is make her a guardian ad litem, and she's only going to make recommendations that she feels are in her client's best interest going forward, not mom's interest, not dad's interest, but in the baby's interest. And whatever recommendations usually come from a guardian ad litem, the court goes with, because she doesn't have a dog in this hunt. She doesn't have emotional ties to each other, we're all human. We've all gone through this stuff. Like that old soul song from the 60s, we make up the breakup. Okay, it happens. All right. So the bottom line is, I'm gonna go ahead and appoint her. She will be in contact with you She will since Mr. Gutierrez lives by close enough, as part of her duties at Atlanta, she's going to do a home visit with both of y'all, looking to see it, making sure everything's appropriate there. So be prepared for that. So at this point, ma'am, again, I'll ask you, do you have any questions, ma'am? And because the lawyer's name is Jana Gustafson, and she will be in contact with you, and no problem with the state giving her your phone number and email address, ma'am.
Yes, Your Honor, that all sounds
Ms.
perfect.
Burkes,
Yes, sir. Yes, Your Honor, that sounds perfect.
all right, just want to make sure. All right, and of course, she'll contact you, Mr. Gutierrez, through your counsel, all right? All right, folks, let's reset until the 17th. I'm going to go ahead and put Ms. Gustafson on it. I'm going to go ahead and set the child support and the visitation. And if we need to tweak that, when we hopefully we'll be able to do a final on the 17th of October. But if not, we need just to tweak the temporary order. We'll do that at that time. But at this time, is there anything else, Mr. Lopez?
Yeah, Your Honor, I just want to make sure that this court did approve the smaller agreements of the non-disclosure, the app close, electronic.
Right, everything else by agreement is approved, and the temporary order, and of course, I could always change the expanded visitation once we come back, but they had let him weigh in on that too, so we'll see all that, all right? But for right now, I'm just going to grant the standard visitation, first, third, and fifth weekends, and exchange to the mom, and all those things are agreed to as far as that part are granted. Anything else, sir?
That is all on my end, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Welch, anything else, sir?
Your Honor, could I just go through, make sure that we've got everything? Just
Go right
because we
ahead.
have there's a lot.
Yeah, I know.
So joint man conservatorship, Ms. Burkes is primary, no geographic restrictions. And then appointment of Ms. Gustafson as ad litem will come back on the 17th of October. But we'll talk with me and Mr. Lopez. We'll talk with Ms. Gustafson about that date. We're just doing the regular standard possession order. And then are you also agreeing, Your Honor, for like the electronic visits or?
Oh yeah, all that, everything that was in the agreed to part. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
And then, Your Honor, I just want to make sure. So because Mr. Gutierrez will be carrying the health insurance, he won't be paying any
Cash medical. No, that's correct. That's correct.
And the child support will be $586 monthly. And those exchanges, Your Honor, will be at Ms. Burkes' residence?
No, at mother's residence.
Or Ms. Burkes, sorry, Ms. Burkes' mom's residence.
Right. Yeah, that's the changes of that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And app close is ordered, non-disclosure reserved, first right of refusal,
Reserved.
and then the name change.
The name change is granted. That's per the agreement.
All right.
So I'm sorry, it's per the court's ruling. Yeah, the first right of refusal will tweak that once we get some information from Ms. Hopefully by October, Ms. Burkes will be able to give us everything we need to know as far as what she's looking at as for going into the military. But again, under my normal circumstances, believe me, this is not my first rodeo when it comes to people going in the military. I don't put that with basic training. I do it for everything 30 days, more than 30 days after that. But as far as basic, I don't do it. But she's not going to go to the basics after the first of the year, so we can tweak that when we come back in October also.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, then, everybody. I'll see everybody on October 17th, unless Ms. Gustafson has something in conflict, and then we'll work around that with the lawyers and get that set up. If there is a change, you will be notified of that. Obviously, Mr. Gutierrez, you run everything through your lawyer. Ms. Burkes, again, if you have any questions, you can contact the state or the ad litem. The ad litem might be more helpful to you, ma'am. Again, she's not representing you. You will both the state and she will always give you the information of what the law is as far as these matters are concerned. And she might even let you know what she's going to request. But until she finishes the investigation, that's probably not likely. Okay, because she's actually the ad litems they investigate, they visit, and then they hear what both of y'all want, and then they make recommendations on which way they should go on those items, okay?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, everybody, see you in October, and we're off the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Mr. Lopez, Ms. Burkes, since we need to confirm that that Zoom, that new date with Ms. Gustafson first, you won't need to stay here for the order. But Mr. Lopez, I would like you and Mr. Gutierrez to stay, just make sure I got Mr. Gutierrez's contact information correct.
Okay, yeah, that works. Your Honor, may I be excused?
Yes, you may be excused. Ms. Burkes, you're free to go. They have your information, and like I said, you've already given your permission for the state to give that information to the ad litem, okay?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, everybody, it's 5-2, and the judge hadn't had lunch. Guess what? Judge is going to lunch. So, yeah.
Why are you attacking me, sir? You know?
Because it's very simple. What you're trying to
I
establish.
just got in here. You already attacking me. Don't attack me.
Well, you don't know. You don't listen to anything. It's kind of why I'm frustrated, and it's late. We haven't had a lunch. We haven't had a long break. We're tired.